This Warlock Strand build just became god tier. Now don't get me wrong, Warlocks have had some fun Strand builds over the past 2 seasons, but this season we just got a new Strand aspect, the Weavewalk, which takes this build to the next level. With this new aspect, you're going to be able to dodge sort of like the Icarus dash on Solar, which is going to make you become invisible to adds, giving you a stupidly high damage resistance buff which is 90%, while also generating Threadlings every half a second. Now if you were in a crazy situation, like a day 1 raid where you're fighting a boss and you have a room full of adds, well you could probably clear that room and damage the boss even while you can't actually attack while being in Weavewalk. Just run a weapon like Anarchy or Witherhoard that deals damage over time, and it will send Threadlings out to melt everything around you for up to 12 seconds, spawning 24 Threadlings in literally 12 seconds. It slaps everything. I want to say it's broken because, well, I think that part of it actually is. I think that is an unintentional bug, but regardless, this build is stupidly strong inside of PvE. Now there are actually a bunch of other things we're getting with this build, like making use of the new artifact perks, being able to get infinite special and heavy ammo, being able to apply radiant from Solar but on Strand, and just making you become this unkillable Threadling machine that outputs a ton of damage while having the power of an Invis Hunter to escape from rough situations when you need to. Now if you're enjoying these builds, you might find some of my other builds useful too, so make sure to check out that playlist down below next because you might just find your new favourite build. Now we have 2 exotic choices for this build, and you can decide to use whichever one you want. They will both work just as good as each other, but with different benefits. So our first choice, which is the one I went with, is going to be the Swarmer's exotic leg armor. What this does is allow you to spawn Threadlings when you destroy a tangle, and your Threadlings unravel tangles that they damage. The second exotic choice is the Rain of Fire, so air dodge reloads all of your weapons and improves AE of fusions and linears, but the main reason for using this is because actually getting a kill with a fusion rifle will make you radiant, and that radiant buff is a 25% damage increase to your weapons, which can also stun barrier champions. So not only will have the ability to become radiant for extra damage, we're also granting our weapons anti-barrier rounds at the same time. Now I like the second choice a lot because you can play this really well in endgame PvE by chaining between your fusion rifle and your heavy weapon. You kind of treat it like a bait and switch perk but with a twist. So you'll get a fusion rifle kill to start radiant, then run around killing everything with your heavy weapon to spawn an orb, pick up the orb to get woven mail, giving you damage resistance, then the next few kills will spawn a tangle. You then use that tangle on adds, spawn special and heavy ammo, rinse and repeat. Now you might think, well, aren't I eventually going to run out of special and heavy ammo at some point? The real answer is yes, but also no at the same time. The amount of tangles you're going to be throwing when using this neat strategy, you're going to be spawning special and heavy ammo pretty consistently because we're using the elemental munitions artifact perk with this season's artifact. So combatant final blows with tangles or elemental orbs have a chance to spawn special or heavy ammo, and that drop rate is actually pretty good. It's like a 25 to 33% chance. So in most cases, throwing a tangle at a group of adds will mostly guarantee that you spawn a brick or 2 upon killing them. It's really good for infinite ammo, which is why I really like this build setup. Now with the Swarmer's exotic, which is the boots I recommend you go with, you're going to play the build pretty much the same way, except we're not going to have radiant, but we're instead going to be causing complete mayhem with Threadlings. So the way you'll use this build with the Swarmers is start by generating an orb of power by getting multi-kills with your heavy weapon. This will give you armor charge and woven mail, which means the next few kills will spawn a tangle. You then throw the tangle, get special and or heavy ammo, and then rinse and repeat. And for quite a long time, you will be able to just keep using your heavy weapon, such as a good machine gun or something, so it's nice that we don't even need to use primary weapons much. Our Threadlings and heavy weapons are going to do all the work for us. Now to take this build a step further, you could run a Witherhoard or Anarchy. I recommend Witherhoard because when you're fighting bosses and need to back away for a bit, just use the air dodge to hide while your Threadlings spawn and take over. So as long as you're doing some form of damage, those Threadlings will seek out an attack, which they can't actually do if you don't damage an enemy. Which again, you can't do anyway because while you're in Weavewalk, it doesn't allow you to do anything. So I think this is a bug, but it is pretty damn lethal, and I hope they don't change this, because this is what makes the build so good in endgame content right now, because a simple fast melee recharge build will mean that we can stay in Weavewalk quite frequently, which just makes you invincible, but you're also dealing damage at the same time. So we're going to be running 2 Strand aspects. The first one is Weaver's Call, so when we cast our Rift, we'll spawn 3 Threadlings. Really good aspect to use because those Threadlings do a pretty good job at clearing adds around you. And then our second aspect is the new one, the Weave Walk, so we can dodge in the air to get damage reduction, but also spawn Threadlings and basically go invisible. Pretty good, but this comes at the cost of using our melee ability charges, which as a Warlock, we don't really use our melee anyway, so who cares. So our focus for this build is going to be to get our melee back as quick as possible, but also for us to be able to consistently generate tangles, so we're going to be focused on generating orbs, getting woven mail and tangles, and we're going to do this with our fragments. So our fragments we have are Thread of Fury, so damaging targets with a tangle grants melee energy, Thread of Transmutation, so that while we have woven mail, weapon final blows create a tangle, so we're not restricted to using our abilities to generate tangles, and then Thread of Warding, so that picking up an orb of power will grant us woven mail. And then the primary source of getting those orbs to spawn are going to be from our Void Cypher mod in the helmet, so that we can spawn them on rapid void kills with our heavy machine gun. So you can see how the flow of this build just works really well. Now we're also benefiting from multiple artifact perks. We do have the discounted scavenger mod, Thanatotic Tangles, which you can use as a replacement to non-strand weapons to spawn tangles, Elemental Fury so that champions take bonus damage from abilities, Refreshing Pickups so picking up tangles grant us ability energy, and Elemental Munitions so that we can spawn ammo for our weapons on tangle kills. There is also one more, Communal Pickups, which is like an anti-theft sort of perk to protect you from allies who use your tangles, so it just reduces the cooldown if someone else uses them, so I do recommend you run this if you're playing with a team. Mods I'm using other than the Cypher mod are the Heavy Ammo Finder in the helmet, 2 mainly kickstart mods in the arms, a Void Reserves and Damage Resist mods in the helmet, a Scavenger mod and some cooldown mods in the legs, and then in the class armor I'm just using a distribution and 2 mainly cooldown mods, because you want your focus to be on getting that melee back quicker so that we can be in that Weave Walk as much as we possibly can, because it is a good backup for an escape if things go badly. This here is the full artifact setup I'm using, and then this here is the mod screen setup, but dim links will be below anyway. The very last thing with this build are the stats. You just want to make sure that you have 100 resilience for the extra damage resistance, and ideally try and get 100 strength for the faster melee recharge rate. Other than that, you're going to dominate with this new Strand build. Thank you all so much for tuning into this build for Season of the Witch. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you guys in the next build. Take care guys.